Hello everybody, my name is pangoduck. Welcome to a new series. We're playing Gladius, as you hopefully have realised by now. Everybody switched on already? Yeah? Okay, good. Gladius is a fantastic game. Been playing it on and off for a long time, and I haven't played it in a while now. I'm very excited to jump back in. They recently released the Adeptus Mechanicus DLC, it was, as a new race. They do release a new race every kind of 6 months or so. I'm not sure exactly on that timescale, but they do release all the new races. It's very, very cool. And I think I actually did a showcase on this maybe a year or so ago. Now, all my nattering aside, mods. Too Many Voices mod. Basically, everybody plays with this mod. It's very, very good. Locknock's expanded setup does what it says on the tin. 40k compendium, I can read. Does add a bunch of stuff. And then Gladius Plus is a lot of nice little tiny changes. They don't change gameplay a huge amount. And then Daz Tactics tweaks before and after. I mean, he is actually looking at merging these into one, but the point is, he has a few tweaks to Gladius Plus, which I think make it a lot nicer. Also, check out Daz Tactic, wonderful YouTuber, strategy games, always, and he streams as well. Always really helpful, seems like a really good guy, and a lot of fun to watch as well. Right. New game. The newest game there ever was. So, I have set up a gargantuan map, recommended for 14 players. That said, I've only got 12 players in, including myself. There are 9 factions in the game right now. I have got one of each of them, plus 2 randoms, and me. And I will be playing the Eldari, as no doubt you've realised by now. For the map, landmass medium is a little bit low, actually. I know it's in the middle, but we all have a fair amount of water. Difficulty medium is kind of low, but this game is punishing. Trust me. If you just start this game for the first time and play, don't pick medium. Potentially don't even pick easy. Maybe go very easy. But I don't know. You see. But it's a tough game. It's punishing sometimes. Gameplay standard. In advance, we'll just have a little quick gander because Lord of Skulls DLC is turned off. Lord of Skulls spawns like a huge monster thing that just kills everyone. It's not really what I'm looking for in this game. I also have quests turned off. Quests are very good. Especially if you're new to the game because they kind of help a little bit like a tutorial. They kind of say, okay, build this. Here you go. Here's some resources. Well done. Build, train 2 of these units. Excellent. Here you go. And you also get a bit of a narrative as well. So if you're interested in the narrative of your particular race on Gladius, definitely do the quests because they're a good time. The only reason I don't want them on now is A, I don't really want the narrative while we're just having this sandboxy game. But B, sometimes there are quests that spawn enemies and, go and take these particular landmarks. I don't really want that for the game that I'm playing today. Nothing else too crazy. Wildlife density I've got on low. I'm actually not sure what the default is. I imagine it's medium. But I don't really want wildlife to take over the game. Because wildlife are very important. They're almost like a faction in themselves. And if you have a lot of them, it really does become like who the hell can survive against the wildlife. Wildlife are very dangerous. So I'm hoping that by putting it on low, we've got a lot of empires, it'll be more about all of us fighting it out with some interaction with nature and having to fight off a few creatures, but nothing too wild. Everything else, I think, is default. Nothing crazy, but it's really cool that you can change all of this. I've done it loads of times myself. Like at one point, I just kept spawning in deserts and it was driving me insane, so I literally just turned down deserts for my spawn. There you go. It's really, really cool. Right, last thing to look at before we get started then is the Eldari. I'm not going to go into some deep mechanical dive, but let's just understand the kind of basics of what we're dealing with as a faction. Webway gates, then. Webway gates. So the map will be not covered, but it's got a good amount of webway gates. We can actually use those to teleport around once we take control of them by expending influence. If we also have control of a gate, we can use it to build a city there. So we need these gates to build cities. So small caveat to this. Factions can destroy gates even before you control them. So that is something we'll have to kind of be aware of. Webway readout is, like I say, we form cities on top of these gates. Remnants of the Fall reduce city growth rate because the elves are limited in number and all this kind of stuff. Last remnants of a people, there you go. However, we can call upon, Eldar, from off-world to join us and boost our growth rate temporarily. Transcendent Bliss. Focus the Eldari spiritual consciousness to experience a period of increased loyalty towards your cause. So those are kind of 2 things we can activate to get increased loyalty or increased growth. Spirit Preservation, we gain enemy for every fallen Eldari unit. Did I say enemy? Energy. Energy. We gain energy when units die. Battle Focus, many Eldari units can move after using their actions. Obviously, this game uses the very standard formula of move, and then you can attack, and that's your turn. However, many Eldari units can actually attack and then move. And finally, Ancient Doom. The Eldari loathe and fear she who thirsts above all else. And essentially the point is, we do more damage against chaos and also take more damage from chaos. If you really want to read the background, there you go. Pause the video. And that's that. The main thing is the gates and being able to move after we attack. Those are the two real main things that we have to be concerned about. And with that, I think we've covered everything and we can jump into the map. All right. Who's ever said all right like that? Well, I just did. Okay, so welcome into the actual game. We have actually spawned in the bottom left of the map, which I'm actually quite happy about, because hopefully we can secure this area and just make this whole corner our own, and it'll be safe and secure. So, it's turn 1. I'm now going to probably take the time just to explain the basics of the game. The reason I'm saying this is if you just want me to get on with the game, maybe skip to like turn 2. This will probably take me, I don't know, like 10 minutes. Maybe 10 to 15 if I'm feeling very slow. We'll see. Right, you've been warned. So, for everybody else, food, hello, I can mouse over things. Food or energy are the main kind of, oh, these are the resources we need to build things and upkeep things and whatnot. And then you've got research, because if we go into the research tree, you'll notice each piece of research is worth a certain amount. You know, it costs 36 to research this. Therefore, we're generating 8 a turn. It will take blah, 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 blah. And obviously, if we acquire more research, we'll be able to get to those research costs quicker. So that's how research works. Influence we use for a bunch of kind of more like one-off things. Like for us, we can activate a webway gate, i.e. bring it under our control, for 10 influence. And it will use for a bunch of things like that, as well as buying items. Sometimes you could buy items for your heroes using influence. So those are the resources. Now, if we go into our city, which is, of course, situated on one of the many gates, we'll talk about the gates. That's why there's dots all over the map, because we can see all the gates on the map, just as Eldar. Other races, they wouldn't have any of this crap. They wouldn't see anything. It just wouldn't be a thing. But let's talk about our city, which does apply to basically all factions. So population. We start with a 6 limit and only 1 population. We have growth, and obviously you can see it says 0 out of 32 accumulated. So it's going to take 6 turns for us to grow because we've got 6 growth at the moment. If we find a way to up our growth, we'll grow population more quickly. You can see what the city generates in terms of all the resources, as well as loyalty. You have a base loyalty, and then it's detracted by population. So as our population increases, loyalty will go down, which doesn't cause rebellions or anything. But when we have negative loyalty, it starts to impact our production of all of our resources. So if you have really bad loyalty, and let's say you've got more than one city, you could get into real trouble because you won't be producing anything, you won't be able to build anything, and you might just lose the game, I guess. I mean, I've never done it. So it's important to keep on top of your loyalty. We will later get like a building that increases loyalty. Much like at the moment, this is like our, for a lack of a better term, this is our construction yard, the Bone Singer's Chantry. Chantry? Chantry? We're going Chantry, actually. Why not? Chantry. And that will be like the thing that grants us production. Production is not a empire-wide thing. It's just one city. And we use that production to build stuff. You'll notice that we've got buildings for each of the resources. This generates 6 food. It costs 24 production, which is basically just saying how many turns it will take to build. Not 24 turns, but obviously however much production you've got into 24. And then it costs 30 ore. And we've currently got 50 in our reserve. So we've got that, which generates food. We've got that, which generates ore. That generates energy. You'll notice the upkeep for the energy building is ore. Pretty much every other building's upkeep is going to be energy. But obviously it would be ridiculous to have an energy building be upkept to buy energy. So that's all that. Plus an influence one as well. They're the basic 5 buildings to cover these 5 resources. And then we can also build the Azorian's Crucible. It's definitely not Azorians. As Urans, don't worry about it. The point is, that's our barracks. Building that produces infantry as well as generates research and increases loyalty. It gives you just a little bit of loyalty and a little bit of research, but obviously the main function is that is a building to produce infantry. It's worth noting the upkeep is 2 energy for that one. This is just the main city itself with our base income of everything. Now, the 1 out of 1 is the population, because you actually need population to staff buildings. For this, to get anything to work at all. But for other, let's say we had an Isha's garden. If we didn't staff it, it would still produce some food, but at a much reduced rate. And if you have too many like jobs, you see the 1 required is how many you require to fill your jobs. If you have too many jobs and not enough people to fill them, that reduces your resource output in general as well. So you've got to be a little bit careful. And obviously, once you reach the limit, you're then going to need, in our case, the Ghost Halls, a building that increases population limit. So obviously, that's quite a big one. The loyalty building's quite a big one. And this is quite a big one. Increase the tile acquisition radius of cities. So let's talk about tile acquisition. And tiles in general. In the beginning, we only have this tile. And we do actually have a building slot available, it seems. That's not even a building slot, sorry, but we do have one. You can see we've got the webway readout, which is that, and the construction yard, and then we've got one other slot on this tile. If we actually hit Control Z, you can see, look, 3. This indicator is building slots, and there's 3 on this tile. We also get a plus 30% bonus to food and a 20% bonus to influence on this tile. So actually, building like a food thing on this tile would give plus 30% to the actual 6. So that would be a really nice building to build there if we want to. That's how tiles work in general. So if we go on acquire tile to get a tile from around us, you can see we've actually got some really nice tiles in terms of bonuses. You won't usually get this lucky. The reason for that is we've got Imperial Ruins, if I might see Imperial Ruins in the tooltip, all around our city. Now, this isn't something that is anything to do with cities. This is just a random tile, and we happen to have a gateway in the middle of a bunch of ruins. The downside is, you've noticed, probably, Control Z, by the way, brings up this massive overview of every tile, but you can, often it's better to just, like, either mouse over each tile like this, or you can just go acquire tile, and you can see the ones in the immediate area. The downside is of these ruins tiles, they seem to only have 2 building slots on each one. Often you'll have 3. You're really lucky, I think you can get 4. But that's the biggest problem with these. They're very good for resources. There's no negative modifiers or anything, but we haven't got a lot of room to build. So maybe that's actually going to push us towards trying to get that technology which increases our acquisition range, quite quickly, because that will enable us to get tiles further out. We might need that space. So that's how that works. Quite simply, if we acquire this tile, for example, we'll have 2 building slots, and if we build something that generates any of these resources, they'll get extra. You can build anything you want on the tile, but obviously, where possible, which isn't always possible, but you want to try and make use of the bonuses as best as you can. Now, what's this tile, which has 0 building slots and some kind of weird modifier? This is a, what's the word? A feature. Also note, the compendium is amazing. If you come in here, you can look at all the buildings for any faction, all the units, the weapons, whatever. But crucially, maybe, the features, anything you see on the map. Like, what is this, for example? This is a skull altar, unexplored. Don't know how it's unexplored, because we're right next to it, but that's fine. So we can come and look at a skull altar. A, you get to read about it, and B, you can see what it does. But honestly, mousing over is usually enough. And you don't really have to care in detail. The biggest thing we care about is just, okay, we always want to get resources which are marked by these grey borders. And then they turn to your faction colour once you control them. Because they always give resources. You'll notice this Ruins of War gives research. This gives influence. We got any others in view? There's obviously... Oh, there's... No, I can't see any, actually. But there's often ones for everything, is the point. So you always just want to take them and not worry too much. But the numbers themselves, the 2, the end number, and the 2 research here, and the 2 influence there, by controlling it with your faction, you get that per turn. So we are getting 2 extra influence per turn, which is lovely. And then the 20%, and I might, don't take my absolute word on it, but I'm pretty sure the 20% is if you have a city working the tile, then you get extra. I think. that's the 20% extra you get. If you have a city working the, basically controlling that, as rather than you just capturing it out in the wilderness, which gives you the 2, I think you get 20% to the city if you take it. Because you'll notice, even though we control it, I can still acquire it. And I think that gives me the 20%. Either way, it doesn't matter. The point is you always want to capture them. Now, the secondary bonus to these, when your units are in them, your units get a buff to, well, defending range damage. They receive less ranged damage, and they also heal faster. Because generally, if you don't move or attack or anything and you sit still, much like on Civilization, you can hold position until healed. Basically, you will heal if you stand still, but it's very slow out in the middle of nowhere. It will be faster in an outpost, as we'll see at some point, and obviously even faster in a city. You can even, if you're worried about surviving, you can actually garrison inside the city in these cargo slots, be completely not even on the map, and heal up, and then come out again when you're ready. Right, so that's all that. Let's talk about units briefly then. So, armor, self-expansion. The good news is you can mouse over everything and see what it does. Like, you can look at the bottom. So, +4, we've got 4 armor, sorry. And at the bottom, 33.3% armor damage reduction, 33% range damage reduction, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter. 12 hit points is not a lot. 8 morale. Morale, quite simply, you can read it, but quite simply, lower morale means you take more damage and deal less damage. You have less accuracy, and you take more damage. And accuracy, you might as well think of accuracy as your ability to deal damage. So we have action points, movement points. Now, obviously, as we talked about with Eldar, a huge point is we can use our action point, i.e. attack or do something else, and still move afterwards. Most people have to do the traditional turn-based strategy thing, well, most factions, where once they attack, their turn's over, whether they moved or not. But that's different for us. Finally, we've got our level, because every unit can gain experience and level up, and they gain hit points, damage, and morale as well when they level up. So obviously higher level units are actually way more potent. It's quite important to try and get XP where you can. Right, now we move on to the weapon. Pretty much every combat unit has a weapon. In this case, they have the shuriken catapults. We have 2 sets of guardians, obviously. That's what we have. A squad of 6 in each. Now that's why it says ×6, because there's 6 of them. The damage is 1.8 for an attack with this weapon. We get 2 attacks ×6, which basically means there's six guardians, and obviously each one must fire twice then when we attack. So there's quite a lot of damage, and in general, for these Eldar units, they are fragile but do a lot of damage. Armor penetration 2, accuracy 8, 67%, whatever. Range 1, which is pretty poor for a ranged weapon, obviously. We can only shoot 1 tile away. Then there's traits. In this case, they're not really important. It's an assault classification, which is kind of for modifiers and stuff. All assault weapons, X, Y, Z. And we have Blade Storm. Increases the damage and armor penetration. Now, I assume that that's baked into the attributes at the top. I'm not sure, but I assume it is. Otherwise, it doesn't even tell you what's happening, does it? So that's that. And then you've got the traits and currently affecting kind of modifiers on the troops underneath. So Ancient Doom is what we've already talked about. The Chaos thing. We have more accuracy against Chaos units, and we take more damage from Chaos units. Battle Focus. Actions do not consume movement. That's what we're talking about. You can still move after using actions. Spirit Preservation grants energy on death, which, again, we read about before the game. Plus 3 energy from experience value. I think that as you get more experience, you're worth more energy when you die. And Fleet, which is just extra movement compared to the absolute base movement level, so it's not really important. None of those things are important. The green ones are usually more temporary and important things. Now, you'll notice because we're stood inside Imperial Ruins, we get plus 33% range damage reduction. That's basically the biggest benefit of Ruins for combat, is you just get, people can't always see you. Notice how our field of vision is less when there's ruins and stuff. And the same for trees in the forest. They generally reduce the range damage you take. That's why it's important to kind of position well. Then we've got their abilities, which are pretty self-explanatory. It's just, hold position, skip turn. Overwatch is a thing in this game, like XCOM and every other game now, basically. If somebody walks into our range while we're just standing still, we will fire at them automatically. And finally, we have webway travel because of our faction. We can spend 20 influence to travel from one gate to another that we own. So that we can go from any slot in here, we can jump in that gate and we could travel to any of these gates which we had taken control of with this. And I can do it now. If I wanted to, I could take access of like this gate and we could go there, but obviously it would be a terrible idea and probably a waste of our very limited influence at the moment. So that's it for units. The only other thing I'll say, which we'll see when we get in combat, when we attack, we'll get a preview here of the unit we're attacking. We will get to see how much damage we're going to do and how many casualties we're going to cause. Because that's the thing I haven't mentioned. Obviously, we have 6 weapons. Therefore, if 3 of our guys die, we'll only have 3 weapons. So when your actual models or units die, you do less damage. Unless, of course, your unit is actually just one big tank or whatever. Because obviously, you could damage that down to half health, but it's still one unit and it's still got all of its guns. When we take damage, we lose units and therefore lose their firepower. So that's very important as well. And sometimes, offense is the best defense, because if you can damage something enough where they can't hit you back hard enough, you know, sometimes that's the way to go. Right, is there anything else I want to cover? Research, obviously we're going to probably just pick this in a minute. You need 2 of each tier to be allowed to go to the next tier. You don't have to go to the next tier. And I think that's it. You get a log here of everything that's happened, what's been discovered and stuff. I guess the gates. So obviously we can see all the gates. We can teleport to the gates. When we get the Webway Readout ability, we can then found cities on gates. As Eldar, that's our only way to found cities. Nobody else has that kind of limitation that I can think of. This is a problem, because all of these gates, while they're neutral, and for everybody else when I take them, but generally gates can be destroyed. Also, a pain in the arse when playing Eldar, our end turns are generally longer than everybody else. Reason being, we see everybody... Well, we don't see who it is, but we see our gates taking damage rather than people just getting on with their turns in the Fog of War. So obviously, I will be editing out end turns quite a bit for that very reason. Because it takes quite a lot of time. It's a kind of a weird quirk. They didn't think of a better way around it with Eldar. Every other faction, you don't really have that kind of problem. Life just goes on. I mean, is that an Imperial Tower right next to that gate? It looks like it, so that gate's probably fucked. We'll probably not skip the first end turn, just so we can have an example, but it'll be quite a long end turn, and later I'll be editing stuff out that's not really worth the time. Just a weird thing about Eldar. Okay, I think for now, that's enough to go forward. So the point is, we need to secure resources. The only other thing is you really have to be careful about the Fog of War. Because I could walk here or whatever, and there could be an enemy stood right there, and I get shot by Overwatch fire, and I've got very limited HP. You've got to play it safe, where possible. Where possible. So, on turn 1, what I want to do, first of all, is grab any resources we can, especially research, because obviously I want to crack on with research as much as we can. So getting this control of the Ruins of War is pretty big. Also gives us a bit more vision. There we go. And now that we're in this outpost, you will notice... There we go. 17% less, basically, range damage coming in, and 50% healing rate. So it's always good to be in an outpost. That can be retaken by neutral enemies or other factions. Got to be a bit careful. It's weird that this says unexplored. I might just move in there and take it. I want to go secure this corner more than anything. But we'll just go one slot, make sure that's now explored. Charging 10 turns. Right, I do not know what a Skull Altar does. What a pro tutorial. Provides a recurring reward to units entering the tile and increases the influence output. Okay, well, obviously the influence output. A recurring reward. Did we get a reward? We did, look. We've just triggered it. Oh, this is so good for our starting city. Okay, because it's like a Chaos Altar, look. We actually got a buff, Blood Blessing. We get plus 17% attacks for 10 turns. And every 10 turns, that'll refresh. And because it's right next to our city, we can set our rally point for any spawning troops to the altar. And quite often, obviously unless we're building them too quickly, our troops will come out and get a buff immediately for 10 turns. So that's actually pretty spicy. I like that. So the only other thing to say about the troops... Especially at the beginning, when you're fragile, you really don't want to split them up too much. We're going to probably go together, especially with this, not being able to see much because of the ruins. We need to be as careful as we can be. Right, the city then. What are we doing? I would like to grab some more research first, if possible. We're okay for everything else. I wouldn't mind just getting a research buffing building. So what's the best percentage we have? We've got 20% here and here. The only difference is this has more food available. So we probably want to build research here. I could build food there as well, but then there's 30% for food there and there and there. So actually, maybe I won't end up building food here. And maybe this keeps my options open. But like I say, I'm only going to get 2 building slots. 2 frigging building slots in each thing, which is rough. I need to build a barracks. I need to build other things. I think the first thing I will do is research, though. What's the other building I'm going to build in there? It wouldn't be a bad shout to open up with research and then food and do both of them here. Then acquire a different tile. Well, no, I'm probably going to build the food here. 30%. 20% influence, but I don't really care about the influence. I think we'll have enough, especially with this. So I think I'll build the research here and then build in the other slot the crucible, the barracks. Let's do that. So that's going to take 2 turns to acquire, because obviously my production is not the best. Later we can build more of these, but I think you have to research them. There it is. No, that increases the output. Well, trust me, we can probably build them. So never mind. The other thing to mention, I know I keep finding things to mention, it's probably been, yeah, it's been like literally 20 minutes, of course. Typical. The crucible, for example, we can build multiple of them in a single city, which will then stack up the production on them, meaning you can produce stuff faster. So that is worth noting. Right, research them. So, our options. Increase the production output of the crucibles, the barracks. That's kind of a nice little passive one. Greater ingress is the ground vehicle building for producing vehicles. Plasma grenade will give our guardians and autarchs, which are a hero, give them plasma grenades to use. Rangers are a stealth infantry unit. They are snipers, essentially. They have 3 range. Bearing in mind our guardians have 1 range. They have 3 range, and they don't trigger Overwatch fire when they go into, like, when they go up against somebody. So that's pretty big. Shrine of Cain is our hero-producing building, as well as research and influence, and, you know, this produced ore and research as well. But the main... I just want to talk about what they mainly do, and they have a bit of a side benefit, and that's great. But then finally, Webway Cartography removes the cost of activating Webway Gates. Bear in mind, it cost me 10 influence to do so. I don't think that's that important. What I'd actually really like is Rangers first. So let's do that. I think we're finally ready to end turn. I realise it's been extremely long. And now, what you will see is the gates all around the map getting attacked. Which, again, no other faction would be dealing with this. And this is why I'll be editing out turns. Although I will say, the turns at the beginning will be longer than later from this point of view. Because the ones getting destroyed are ones right near enemy players. Neutral enemies don't attack the gates. The ones that are in the middle of neutral territory, they won't get attacked. We won't be hearing about it. We won't be wasting time sat here like this. But that's just something worth mentioning. We can try to figure out who people are if we're paying attention. Like, this is the blue player. I could recognize this fortification and stuff like that, but I don't really care right now. The type of ammo used, you can recognize what faction is what. But we're just going to not even worry about it for now. And now you can see while I'll be editing this out. And we will lose some gateways. And you need to remember, if we have no gateways, yes, it means we can't teleport around, which is good for both, well, flanking, but also reinforcing when we create new troops and we're battling half the map away. But also, we need gates to build cities. Now, we're not going to build that many cities in this game. You don't really. And the biggest reason for that is every city gives you a big loyalty debuff. I want to say that every city that you build gives -6 loyalty. Okay, it's the end of the turn. -6 loyalty. Yeah, look at the last sentence. Each city after the first decreases loyalty in all cities by 6. So if I built a second city right now, this would go to -1 immediately. So A, you have to build buildings to get on top of loyalty. And B, you can't build that many cities. The first one's not too bad if you can just get a loyalty building up or something like this, which just adds on a bit of loyalty. But it's something to bear in mind. You can't go mad with cities in this game. This is not a massive expansion game. Right, so we've got one more turn till that tile's cleared. We can now speed up our play a little bit. I'm still a bit worried about what we're going to run into. Oh, that's actually pretty good, isn't it? Let's move. Let's keep our guys together. We haven't found anyone in the ruins, which is something, but there's a trader encampment, which A, gives influence, which we're kind of pleased about. Like I said, we won't have to go crazy for any other influence. I'll talk while the turn ends, then I'll cut it out. And B, you can buy items for heroes from the trader encampment using influence, so it's pretty good. Okay. The Ranger research is completed. It'll tell you all about them, tell you about their attributes and stuff. But as I said, crucially, the weapon, range 3. They do decent damage as well, but, well, we'll see. Look, because they have a trait, heavy. Reduces the accuracy after moving. So basically, they'll do less damage if they've moved. So it's better to, in our case, with that trait, it's not as bad because we are the elves. So we can fire and then move afterwards and not pay the penalty. But for other factions, if they have a heavy unit, they kind of want to move it, and then next turn... Well, they can still attack, obviously, and they will. But next turn, it will do more damage if it's still in range, because moving on that same turn reduces the accuracy if you do it before you fire. And then we're also a sniper, increases the damage and armor penetration against infantry and monstrous creature units. So in other words, we're crap against buildings, obviously, crap against tanks and stuff. We're good against infantry and monstrous creatures because we've got sniper rifles, you know, it's what you expect. While we're here... Infiltrate, there you go. Prevent the unit from being targeted by Overwatch attacks, as I mentioned. Very nice. Also negates the movement penalty in forests and ruins. So that's something actually super useful for where we've spawned, because we are in the middle of a bunch of forests and ruins. Getting some rangers out is actually going to be massive. Right, I can go straight to the encampment. I think I will do that. And even if we get unlucky and attacked out of the forest, we will at least get the defensive bonus from the encampment. I'm hoping we just don't. It does look kind of safe. Now, as I said, I have put the wildlife on low, but trust me, they'll still be lurking. Just trust me. We'll stick together. We'll go through this forest, which is a bit annoying. I could wait for a ranger, but I need to find out if anything's in here. We are probably... Yeah, we are going to go straight for the Crucible. It will have an upkeep of 2 energy, so we're going to have to sort energy soon after that. But it does also give us a bit of research, so it's not bad. What am I talking about? I haven't got the research. That was just acquiring a tile. I got carried away. No, research first, Crucible afterwards. So that's going to be upkeep of 1 energy. That's going to be upkeep of 2. So we will run out of energy, but that's okay. Right, research. I would like to get Shrine of Cain for heroes. However, pretty tempted to get the extra production from the Crucible first. Because it's going to be a little while before I can get this building online, isn't it? We're going to have to build... We're building a research building. We're then going to build the Crucible, and we're going to want to pump out infantry immediately. And we're then going to have to build an energy building. And probably before long, we're going to have to build a food building because we're pumping out infantry. And that's already 4 buildings before we can even think about doing the hero building. So I think we're going to go for the production output of the Crucible for now. I think as we go up tiers, this becomes cheaper and quicker as well. And obviously we'll have more research. So we will be quicker in general. Okay, right, that's another turn in the books. Okay, so we've had some Crute Hounds move in, and we've also lost 4 gates, I think I counted. 1 there, and you see the blue faction is right near us. They're going to be our first enemy, probably. But yeah, we've lost a gate there. We've lost... In fact, you can see how they're grayed out on the minimap because we don't have vision there anymore. Yeah, lost 1 there. We lost 1 there to the green faction by the looks of it. 1 there. And actually... Oh, no, we haven't lost these yet. But yeah, my point is... We can now never teleport there. We can never build a city there. Does it matter? Actually, no. But I'm just saying that is the situation. Right, let's move into the forest. I think I'm going to be a little bit bold. I mean, I could be wrong. It looks like there's nothing here. If we had the wildlife set higher, I reckon they would be. There are obviously the Crute Hounds, but I just want to clear this out. Granted, that doesn't stop stuff going in there, but hopefully... There won't be a lot going in there unless they come right by all of our stuff. We can just end turn straight away, so let's just crack on. Okay, turns are getting shorter already. Let's move up. I don't know where the Croot Hounds went, of course, because I just left them. I think I will only move this far. I don't want to overdo it. This is a weird start. I don't usually have a city in the middle of ruins. And B, I'm not usually surrounded by this much forest, where it's really a struggle to see things. That might be... Oh, by the way, this orange line. Settings. Video, I think. Show cliff highlights. That's useful. Sometimes on the map, obviously that one's an obvious one, but sometimes you cannot see clearly where a cliff is in terms... I know it's kind of weird because I've picked an orange colour, but you cannot see clearly where a cliff is and whether your unit can move down it or not, assuming it's not a flying unit. So that's quite a useful tool just to see where cliffs are. Right, anyway, we're still not doing anything. We've got, what, 2 more turns there? 2 more turns until we finish that. 2 more turns until we finish our research. We will just move on another turn and then crack on up here. Okay, nothing too crazy. What I would say, by the way, if you are playing on... Well, it could be a bit of luck because of our position on the map, but also, if you're playing on any higher wildlife density, you would probably have done quite a bit of fighting already. Often, a lot of the game is actually fighting against neutral enemies. It's a pretty big part of it. I'm going to move you there. And there's the Croot Hounds. Now, obviously, because they're melee, they have no Overwatch ability. You will notice, there's the preview window I talked about, and we do so much damage that we're actually... And they have no defensive bonuses because of terrain or anything else. So they have nothing going on. We're just going to kill them all. The whole health bar is grayed out. 14 damage. Estimated casualties, 7 out of 7. It says estimated. It won't be estimated. That is absolutely correct. So... Obviously, they're just a kind of crappy melee unit. They do, however, have infiltrate, so they don't get targeted by Overwatch, much like our Rangers won't. But the reason I'm just stalling for a second, when we kill it, we all get experience. Great. This unit will as well. I want to say, anyone within 3 tiles of the kill gets experience. But that's quite important because I've told you how leveling up is important. So where possible, you want to make sure you've got your units moved in close enough for a kill. Because it is important. But anyway, obviously we're going to take this kill. You'll see XP pop up above both of our heads. They're obviously dead. 1 there, 1 XP there as well. Now, there are more Croot Hounds, which, again, we could just kill. Now, here's what I'm not going to do. I know it's tempting. I know. And this might be totally fine. We could move straight up here. Also, we've captured the post, obviously, so we're getting more influence. But we could go straight up here, capture this Shard of Wall, which, by the way... gives both ore and energy. Very cool. We'd have a defensive bonus anyway, and, presumably, we could just kill this unit straight away. Why am I not going to do it? Because I have been burned so many times where I walk up and there's just frigging death right here. And obviously you have to take risks, but I'm not going to do it when my other troop can't even come and support me. So what we do, if we're being very cautious, is we probably go here. Which, to be fair, gives us vision anyway. But and then next turn we'll go together. It's just too risky. And especially for someone like us, where we have only these 2 fragile units for a little while, losing one of them is actually a big problem. Because it means the other one is extremely vulnerable and will probably die to the same units if you explore on your own too much. And you get kind of stuck in your base. So, there you go. Okay, obviously the Croot Hounds avoid our Overwatch because they've got infiltrates, so they get to come in and attack us. And you can see how much damage they did, even though they suck. All because we're so fragile. And, okay, we finished our research to increase our production of our crucibles. And because we're in the forest, so we get range damage reduction, but they're melee. Now, because we've only got... Well, look, 3 left. We have 3 weapons left, so we lost half of our men. We do less damage. You'll notice, look, we only do 8.2. We're going to estimate 4 out of 7. Now, could we still beat them? Yes, because I'm going to do enough damage that they won't be able to kill me with what they have left. They'll only have 3 hounds left. However, I think I'm going to move here. I could actually be aggressive, move up here, station myself in there and heal up, and then move this unit across to get the kill. The problem with that is, if I go there and there are enemies in the surrounding area, they're just going to come and finish me off, and I just don't want to risk it. So what I'm going to do is probably move in here before I fire. It doesn't really matter in this case. And then I'm going to fire. You can see, and obviously the preview's now updated for if we attacked again. Obviously this unit can finish them. I am going to do it. Experience is great. Also gives us vision, and there you go, neophyte hybrids. Let's finish the job. Perfect. Experience for both. Great. Neophyte hybrids just have ranged, and they do have 2 range on their auto guns, but they don't do the most damage. They only attack once, and they obviously just have 1 damage per attack, so they do 6 damage. The only kind of shitty thing is, yes, A, they have 2 range, whereas I have 1 at the moment, and B, they have this Shroud ability, which they've actually activated, which gives them 33% range damage reduction whenever they want it. Well, they have to use it, obviously, but it's a free action. It does have a cooldown of 2 turns, but it's a free action. They can shroud themselves and take less range damage, which is a real pain in the arse. So, had I gone there, they probably, maybe, don't know, would have come in and possibly wiped me out. So that's the risk. Now, we've finally built our research. You'll see that it's started to terraform this a bit. It looks weird because we're in the middle of ruins. Normally you would just have like this bit. But it's kind of weird having a city in the ruins. Does that count that we're now connected to that for extra research? Now there's a question. We probably have to get it when we have bigger range. Now, I did say, and I think the plan is still, we're going to get a crucible built in that spot. Potentially after we need energy, and then maybe I'll build food here. Where am I going to build the energy? I could even... Bear in mind, you can queue stuff up if you want. I think it takes it out of your resources immediately, though. Let's test it. Costs 5 ore to acquire a tile. My energy probably goes here, actually. Yes, look, it took 5 ore away from me. So queuing up isn't great, generally, because it just takes your resources away. Especially if you have multiple cities sharing the resources. Alrighty. So now we've got access to tier 2. The reason these are grayed out is because they're to do with buildings we don't have. Expert Hunter is for Shining Spears, which are a vehicle. Vol Summons increases the production output of the vehicle building. Because we don't have the vehicle building unlocked, we can't get those techs. The Spirit Seer is a hero. We don't have the hero building. We can't research the Spirit Seer. What I am going to get first is not population, because let's just check it out. We've only got 2 out of 6. We're a way away from actually needing to increase our population, and our growth isn't that insane or anything. So that's fine. We don't need that yet. What I do want... I could also get Transcendent Bliss, grants cities an ability to spend influence to temporarily increase loyalty. Now there's an interesting thing. Maybe you build more cities and it tanks your loyalty, but you have enough influence to just keep using that, I mean I don't know what the cooldown will be, to actually keep loyalty ticking over until you can get it sorted out. What I do want is Howling Banshees, which we'll be able to build from our Crucible. Agile and terrifying close combat infantry unit. Very cool. We want them. Very, very nice. Right, end turn. Right, magic. Now, so you have healed a little bit, up to 6. I could fortify and heal. You'll heal more in the outpost. But since I'm going to move both troops up, and I don't think I'm going to get screwed by any Overwatch. There's some more ruins there. I think we're going to move up the weaker unit into there and fortify there. That's the plan. Let's do that. It's worth noting, Orcoid Fungus. Let's go to our... Well, this is right there. Feature that increases food output and heals orcs. So it only heals orcs. That's a shame. I knew it did healing, and it makes sense that it's orcs. But if you're playing as orcs, which are a very, I would say, a wonderful noob-friendly faction, personally. I like orcs a lot, by the way. Even if you're not a noob, just wonderful faction. That's really cool. If you stand on Orcoid Fungus as an orc, you actually heal more, which is just amazing. But anyway, so you're gonna fortify there until we're healed. Doesn't really matter at the moment. And you're not going to go too far, is what you're going to do. We're going to be a little bit crafty. I do want to get to that and take it and make it a city even. There's also a feature here. Don't know what it is yet. We haven't explored any of this close to our base, but... I mean, what are you going to do? By the way, the base does have defenses. And it's not like other 4X and stuff games where you leave your base undefended. They just take it and win in like 2 turns. That is not a thing. It'll take them a little while to destroy cities. It's hard to destroy cities on this game. I think... No, let's be cautious, because honestly, once you get burned, you'll understand. When we return to the Crystal Halls, once we conquer Gladius, my friend. Looking pretty safe. We're looking okay. Everyone's gonna, like, people who don't know this game are gonna think I'm crazy. Like, oh, why are you being so cautious? It's fine. You wait. A, you'll get burned. And B, turn that wildlife up. See how it goes for you. Right, I think I will move probably just into these ruins. For now. While you're healing. So you're at 6. Hopefully now you'll start healing up. 50% extra rate. No, sorry. Yeah, 50% extra rate. Good. It's 100% in cities, I think. Still working on our Crucible. We're a little way off. We will have Banshees research. That said, I'm probably going to get Rangers first. So we have to pick our next research accordingly. Because we've got a bit of a queue of stuff we want to do before we can really kick on to some of these things we're researching. Those effects are still too loud. Look at this. Bro. 20%? Madness. Anyway. Yeah. So we don't want to research a whole bunch of stuff we can't use now. Oh, hello. The Magus foretells a great hunger. There's a lot of varied, interesting neutral enemies as well. And it is fun to kind of whack it up and fight against them. Like, some of them have nests and all sorts. Anywho, our Banshees are ready. So, crucially, it's not called whatever the other one's called. Infiltrate. Is that what it is? This is called Banshee Mask, but the effect is the same. You cannot be targeted by Overwatch. I know it now seems like there's loads of units that can't be. There is not that many. We just happen to be in a situation where we're seeing a lot of them. Other than that, we don't have the tech for extra armor, but fair enough. You see, the blue things are things you can unlock. Our actions are normal. They start with a passive, Aura of Fear, reduces the morale of adjacent enemy units each turn. So obviously, units next to them will start doing less damage and taking more damage because their morale will go down. They can also unlock by a tech, War Shout, which is an active shout to reduce morale immediately of nearby units. So it can really work in their favor to reduce enemy morale, make everybody weaker, and then kick their ass. They do have a Shuriken Pistol, which is obviously only one range, but then they also have a Power Sword, and they do a lot of damage. So that's going to be lovely. Right. They do have 2 range. I'm going to just sit... I'm going to sit tight. We need more troops. Before we can really start marching out, we need more troops, like, to be totally honest. We're not very strong. What would I like to get now? We could get the Shrine of Cain so that it's ready. We could get Ghost Halls because we're going to need it, and that would allow us to go up to the next tier. But we're not overly in a rush to go up to the next tier. We don't need the loyalty building. Increasing food output is nice. I mean, the support battery would be great, but we need the vehicle building. So I kind of need the hero and the vehicle building done. War Shout we could actually get for our Howling Banshees. I wouldn't say it's crucial. And obviously the ability to found new cities actually we're going to want quite soon. Fairly soon. Fairly soon. Probably we go loyalty so that it's ready. And then we go new city. So as soon as we found a new city, we can dump a loyalty building in it. For now, I might get the... Let's get the hero. And I'll tell you why I want to do that, actually. Shrine of Cain, the hero building. Because I want to unlock the Spirit Seer. Because this particular hero can actually heal. We do start with a hero, as I said. And sometimes the best way to see this is not to go on units, but go on buildings. Craft World Eldari. Shrine of Cain. Here you go, look. We start with the Autarch, Psychic Hero unit that leads the charge. And then we can unlock Spirit Seer, which is the one I want. Fastest Skyrunner, Avatar of Cain. Sometimes going on the building is the best way. And for example, if we go on our Crucible, we can see all the infantry we're going to be able to unlock. Fire Dragons, Warlocks, Wraith Blades, Wraith Knight. Lots of really cool things in other buildings as well. Right. So yeah, we're sitting tight. Hopefully they come in, to be honest. We can kill them then. I just want to be a little bit cautious and not go gun-ho. So you've got 8 hit points. Well, there's a problem. They're right here. They've taken this resource, and they're going to blow up the gate where I want to build a city. That is rather shit. And by rather shit, I mean extremely shit, and we need to do something about it if we can. But can we? But can we? They're using their shroud, I mentioned, so they'll take less range damage, but they are running away. Oh, is this Space Marines? It is, isn't it? I mean, actually, now that I think about it, I remember making blue Space Marines. I probably should have just done it random. You're now on 10 health. I kind of have to move up, but I don't know if I beat Space Marines. I have to look. Oh, but if I go there and they're in this encampment, they might just kill me, Overwatch fire, and then running in. I think I better move to here, but even that is risky. They're not there. Where are they attacking it from? Maybe over here? I could be really sweaty and try and run for that, but I can't quite reach it. So we will stay, because we'll heal up. It does mean we're going to be further away, though. We won't be able to help next turn. So maybe I ought to move, because we need to save this. I'm a bit reluctant to move there. Bear in mind there could be an enemy sat right there. I'm going to leave my safe haven and go here. Even though we're not fully healed, we're still missing a guy, right? We've got 5. Yeah, it's basically 2 HP per guy on these. But we need to, if possible, I want to do that. I mean, we've got a lot of influence. I will need some for a hero. I'm prepared to waste 10. We're getting 10 a turn. I'm prepared to waste 10 to activate this. And that gives us a bit of vision. There we go. Tactical Space Marines. Who look very cool, I might add. I didn't mean to do that. Stop. No clicking. No clicking! No clicking. We can't see them because of the trees, but look, they're in there. They're in there. Tactical Space Marines are a bit sweaty. Worth noticing about them is they do 1.5 damage and they attack once per unit, obviously. However, they have rapid fire. Doubles the attacks at half range. Their range is 2. That's what they do at 2 range, but if they come right up in front of you, 1 range, they do basically double damage. And quite a few ranged weapons have this rapid fire thing, where they come... At full range, they do so much. If they come closer, they do more. I assume, unless there's another unit, and they do start with 2 sets of Space Marines, so I don't know where the other unit is. I'm assuming this isn't going to die. Fortify and heal. Maybe now that we've got it, maybe it will heal more. I don't know. Clutching at straws. 2 turns away from our building. Our production is not good here. Not good at all in this area, is it? We are struggling. But we're nearly there. Oh, you cheeky buggers. Oh, they had grenades as well. That's why they did so much. Right, that's going to die. Wow, that's a slap in the face. So. Oh, God. That makes it so much worse that I didn't dive straight for the outpost. Oh. So the thing about Space Marines, the way that they only get one... They're very different. They get 1 city in the game. That's it. 1 city. And what they do, instead of having extra cities, and this doesn't mean they get to produce from multiple places, but obviously they work differently. What they do is they call down these fortresses onto, i.e. next to, outposts, which is what they've just done. Here we go. Shrine of Cain's done, by the way, our hero building. They bring down these fortresses of redemption next to outposts and resources, which helps them exploit the outposts more. But also, they have guns on them and a bunch of health, 32 hit points. So they have exploited this, but also set up a very offensive post that I now can't deal with. And this is going to get destroyed. There's nothing I can do. Also, both units are here, and they've researched grenades, much like I can research the plasma grenades. They've got their own type of grenades. That's gone, and frankly, we've got to retreat. I'm going to go there just in case they chase, but they won't, so I mean, it's kind of pointless. There's nothing we can do. That's going to die. We've got to now retool and clear out this and go this way. But the good news is, soonish, yeah, in one turn, we'll be able to start some rangers, and then some Howling Banshees and some more units, and that will help us, A, clear out the forest, B, be able to fight back against the Space Marines. But I don't really want to lose this, because then they'll probably end up calling down another fortress. It does cost them sorry, not build it, to call it down, but you can see why it's a real pain in the arse to try and deal with. That also means I really want to try and fast-track getting something to deal with that kind of fortress, which really means vehicles. Maybe the support battery would be a big one. Ooh, lots of things happening. I would like the Spirit Seer, though. I think I'm going to stick to that plan. 4 turns with our current research output, which isn't great. Maybe I could have got another building, another research building. But at the same time, I need infantry, and I need it now. So, you know, it's kind of, you have to make a sacrifice somewhere. Population was still absolutely fine, so I'm not overly rushed for this. Also, bear in mind, yeah, I can increase the population limit and keep growing, but it will start really tanking our loyalty. So I need to get this as well. I'm probably, after the Spirits here, going to grab the loyalty building, followed by the ability to settle cities, then maybe population, depending on how we're going, then the vehicle building, then the support battery. There's a lot I want to go at, and that's ignoring the idea of going further in and getting the extra tiles, which we may have to do soon, because as I said, we've only got 2 tile slots because it's all ruins. You see, we've got a 3 slot there because it's just grassland. This is a really interesting game already. Anyway, I'm afraid it's time to end the episode. We have reached, I don't know how long it's been, a long time. I mean, I'm going to edit a few bits out with the end turns, but I've been recording almost an hour by accident, so we are going to leave it there for today. Next episode, we carry on. Next episode, we hopefully get to Second City here, and we start plotting our revenge on the frigging Space Marines. Literally, how dare they? How dare you, sirs? Anyway, there it is. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next episode.